Welcome to Coin Op Adventures. I'm your host, Ames, and this is your place for pinballs, arcades, and more. So, today I have an interesting story for you, and you've probably heard of me, but you don't even know it. I started something that was called the Ice Arcade. Why, or as a quick name, as I would call it, the Icecade. I'm the guy who basically put an arcade on the ice. You say, oh, what do you mean an arcade? Like a full-blown arcade? Or just one machine? Well, it wasn't just one machine. It was five machines. Five machines and an oil heater, just to make sure everything was nice and warm and everything was running off a generator. Well, when I purchased the company and everything, the following year, this is when I did that. I figured it would give me some promotion. I'd get a whole bunch of news out of it, and it would help me benefit in my business. That, and I love fishing, and I love ice fishing. I actually had my own hut there, so it gave me more of a reason to be there also. So there wasn't any stupidity, I guess. There was things involved for it, I guess you could call it. And I enjoyed it. Um, I did a lot of work for it and everything. So, anyways, how this all began and started is I was talking to one of my friends, and my friend goes, "Oh, I won't be seeing you at all this winter. You buying a new company, you've been working many hours and stuff." Because basically, my day would start at 8 a.m. and it would finish around 4:30 in the morning normally, and that's what I would do. I did that for 3.5 years, solid. And back then, what I was doing is when I figured out that I wanted to do this, I went to go see the owner. And this is in the Ottawa area, and actually more in the Orleans area, which is a little further out of town, near Cumberland. It's not very far, or far for me, I guess. Anyways, I was talking to the owner, and what happens is every year at this time, he would have repossessions, basically, of ice huts, because he would store all the ice huts at his marina. He still does that today, but now it's a different owner, different system. But anyways, so I became part of an association also called PIFA, which is the Petrie Island Association of Anglers. And great people and stuff, and I learned a lot with them. And if it wasn't for this group, I would have never been able to do the arcade. So, anyways, as it starts off, I spoke to the owner. I said, "Do you have any ice huts that need to go that you're willing to sell?" He says, "I have 3 of them." Okay, can I go see them? For sure. First one we go to, it's the most dilapidated hut I've seen. I'm like, yeah, this will be tear down and basically thrown away. And then the second hut, it's on a small metal frame. It used to be a trailer. No, I can't do anything with that. Third hut, it's basically 2 huts melded together. Floors rotten out. Everything else is good. Okay, so now I got to go get some wood. So my first idea was, well, let's look around for shipping companies or event planners or whatever, and I'll find some crates, because plywood is still expensive. And so I started looking around. I couldn't find anything. Then I have my best friend, one of my best friends. His name is Mike. "Hey, Mike, do you know where I could find some wood? And like, this is what I want to do." Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I know a place." I said, "Okay, where is it?" He says, "Well, you know where there's a go-kart place. It was right there. You know where the go-kart place is?" I go, "Yeah, it's for one of my clients." "Well, right behind that, there's a business there." Lo and behold, I had no idea what I was getting into or whatever. I'm like, okay. So, knock on the door, and then gentleman comes out, and Mike is with me at this point. And I said, all of these crates and everything, are you getting rid of them? Well, actually, yes, I am. I said, well, do you mind if I grab some? He says, you can grab as many as you want. If you need even help, I'll give you a bit of help too, to load it and make sure you get it. I said, oh, well. And then I asked him, like, what does your company do by chance? Because, you end up being curious. You're getting something free, so have a little conversation, figure out, make sure everything's okay. I'm not going to get in trouble or anything. So, no, everything is pretty much legit. He works for a company called Orchestra, and it's a French event company, and they work with malls, they work with the government making events, like one of their events was for the military, for a recruitment drive, just these little things here and there. And I said, okay, so what can I take? And he goes, well, all of this over there, you can take it all. Cool. So I did about 3 loads with my truck, and I dropped it off all of my other friend Ken's. And going, why are you dropping it off there? Well, my friend Ken actually lives in Cumberland, which is literally 7 minutes away from where we're going to be building this ice shack, or where I will be building this ice shack. We ended up building an ice shack altogether, but that was the year after. So now I had all of these crates, and I have all of this wood and everything. And then we start tearing apart these crates and everything using a grinder, and basically just rounding off and removing all the nails and everything, and then voila. But like I said, the floor was rotten out, so I had the plywood for it, but now I needed 2x4s. And you can't get a whole bunch of 2x4s for free, right? Well, sort of. I went to Home Depot. And Home Depot always has a section in the back called reclaimed wood. Reclaimed wood is basically all wood it's either curved, and it's got a gazillion knots in it. Sometimes it's cracked. It's got, it's the unwanted wood. Or sometimes it's just extremely warped also. But anyways, I digress. And I went there and I spoke to the manager and the one in Orleans, and I said, oh, you have the skid, do you have another one? She says, I have another one in the back if you wanted to. And I said, okay, how much it'll be, all of this wood? And it was a lot of wood. It basically filled up my truck. I ended up doing about 6 different loads, and full to the maximum that I could put in my truck. And what was funny is basically, if I would have bought all of the wood that I got from them, I was looking at $3,000 to $5,000 of wood. I got it for like pennies on the dollar. The first load, I think, cost me about $100, and it was like a full load of my truck. The second one was $50, and it was about the same thing, but it had more 2x8s, 10x12s, big pieces of wood. But I was still missing a bit of 2x4s, so I needed 2x4s badly. And I'm like, I guess I'm gonna have to buy a whole bunch of them. And then he goes, whoa, wait a minute. You don't have to go, you're really sold on the reclaimed wood. I said, but of course, this is what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build this ice shack, and it's gonna have to be able to carry a lot of weight. And he says, well, why do you want that? I said, well, I have this dumb idea. I want to put an arcade on the ice. And he goes, well, just one machine. I said, no, I actually went, when you get into an arcade, you got all the nice sounds and everything. He goes, yeah. He says, for me, an arcade, because, we every time we talk about arcade machines or pinballs, people come instantly with, when they were kids, or, oh, I used to do this or whatever, So, it's kind of cool. And he's like, oh no, that would be awesome. Like they're really promoting me. And then so he goes, give me a second. Then he phones up another Home Depot that's in Gloucester, which is about 10 minutes away. He phones him up. Do you have any reclaimed wood? He says, specifically 2x4. Oh, yes, we do. We have tons of them. Okay, I'm going to send the gentleman down to you, and we'll go see. I arrived there, and I'm also looking for something to make skis out of, too, at the same time. So I get there, and lo and behold, they have these big square, 8-inch by 12 feet long. That would be perfect for our skis. I said, okay, I'll buy 4 of those. Ironically, those 4 cost me more than the load of wood. It cost me $160 for these 4 pieces because they were big and expensive and pressure treated. Anyways, the guy shows me the lot of the 2x4s. Well, it was on a pallet, and it's stacked, I would say, about 5 feet high. And I go, how much is this going to cost? He goes, not as much as you think. And I'm like, okay. He says, we've been sitting on this for a while, and we were just about ready to throw it out. I'm like, oh, so this is a real good price. He's like, yeah. He goes, how's $45 for the whole lot? Okay. You're like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll take it. And duh. Anyways, so get that load, and then I bring everything up to the marina, and I have to work there during the days, and to fix up this thing. So I brought my compressors, and then I picked up a generator at a pawn shop, a 10 kilowatt generator just to have enough power to run the generator, a saw, and everything. Ripped the floor out, and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna build the floor like a deck. And my friends are like, really? Yeah, it's expensive and very heavy. I said, trust me, because you don't want to have something that's weak and then your machine will go right through. Yeah, I guess you're right. So I ripped the whole floor out. I even ripped off the one section of the hut because the way it was built, it was 2 huts put together. So I removed what wasn't even, and then I fixed it up to actually be one full hut that actually looked half decent. And then I basically put planking from one end to the other, and then I put the plywood right on top. So it could really hold some heavy weight. Now I'm like, okay, I've got this done. Okay, now I have a problem. How do I heat this? If I deal with a wood stove, I'll be in there every 10 minutes trying to do it. And if I'm not there during the day, because this arcade would still be open even if I wasn't there. I'd have a couple of my friends over there and start it up, and they'd be around, And one of the PIFA guys, actually, he was the president at the time. His name was Big Al. Yeah, I know. You go, oh, he must be a big guy. No, actually, he was a tiny guy, but everybody called him Big Al because he knew everything and everybody around there. He was good with the association. Very nice man. Still is to this day. Like every time I go there, I have to stop and speak to this gentleman. And all my friends are both the same. Like, this is a nice man. And he goes, what do you think of an oil stove? I said, are they expensive? He says, no. But I said, the oil stoves are pretty big, aren't they? Like, he says, no, I'm talking about oil stoves from 1910s, 1920s. These are old things. They're called drip stoves. Ah, okay. So I started looking around for them. I find one. Well, this thing is from 1926. I pick it up for $125, I think. And there was a tank and everything. The guy provided. I'm like, okay, cool. It was an old propane tank, one of the 30-pound tanks. that he had converted to hold oil and drip. So, okay, set that all up, put the furnace inside. Then the unthinkable happened. I got the copper line to end up putting it all together. And by this point, we're mid-November. And this is one of the few years where by mid-November, we ended up having, almost 6, 7 feet of snow already. And it was minus 26 that day. And the ice is already frozen and everything. I just put the shack out on the ice. I just finished building it and everything, which ended up taking me 3 months, by the way. And I actually have a log on it on Facebook, actually. It was under Arcade for All. And it's still, I just reopened it the other day. And this will be my fan page for this channel. Anyways, I start going back and forth, and then trying to get this fixed. And I'm going in my truck because it's freezing. And I have this copper line. And every time I would try to make a bend so I could have it go outside and having like a proper little bend, it would instantly collapse because it was so cold that the copper would just kink. And I'm freezing, like I can't feel anything. It's to the point where it hurts. And right across was another friend's shack. His name is Rick. Rick goes, "Are you fucking cold?" I go, "Yeah, I'm freezing. I don't know what the hell to do. Like I can't get this freaking line." He's like, "Get the fuck in here. Warm yourself up, then we'll think of something." I'm like, "Okay." So we're sitting down, Big Al shows up, and we're talking about that. And he says, let's go take a look at your oil stove. We'll see if we can figure it out. He says, "You're cold, right?" He says, "Yeah." He grabs my 5-gallon gas container, and he pours some inside of it. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, you can actually put some in and light it, and if you want some heat. At least it'll give you a bit of heat so you can maybe do a bit of stuff." I'm like, "Okay." So we start doing that, and then he looks at the copper pipe that I have, and it's basically got a break here, got a break there, break there. And he's like, "Geez, you've been having a lot of fun with that." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, go to Canadian Tire and go get a line, fuel line." Okay. So go to the Canadian Tire in Orleans. Canadian Tire is sort of like our version of TSC. It's a hardware store, or Ace, like in the US. So I get that, and then I go to the counter. I said, "I'm looking for fuel line, and this is what I'm going to use it for. And it has to be able to take diesel." "Sure, no problem." So he brings out the roll. He goes, "Well, hopefully you need only 12 feet. I go, "What?" "Well," he goes, "One, it's $1 a foot." I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty expensive for a little bit of stuff." And I have exactly this much. I'm like, "Okay." So it cost me a whole $12. Oh, and he thought I was going to complain about it. I was actually, "Hey, the copper line just cost me like $30. This cost me $12. I'm happy with that." I get there, hook it up, put the oil in, boom, works perfectly. Then I start bringing in the arcades, and we put them all up. My buddies gave me a hand. We set them up, and everything works perfectly. I'm like, "All right, I'm so happy. I'm all stoked." So I'm like, "Okay, well, my first lineup of machines that I set up is Street Fighter 3. Then beside that was Terminator 2. Then beside that was Mortal Kombat 1. And then the other machine beside that had Double Dragon. And the one right beside the oil stove, well, that was, let me think. Oh, that was a CPS2 system, and I had guy going in there. And like I said, I would rotate these in and out all the time. And I wanted a bit of publicity, it's a good way to get the business going. So, and I was right. So I opened up on the Saturday, and I did something unthinkable. Well, at least unthinkable for me. I forgot my laptop inside the arcade. And I'm actually in Big Al's hut, and I'm just relaxing. And the guy just comes in and he goes, somebody left a laptop in the arcade place there. And yeah, like the guys, whoever put that there is going to be upset that they lost it. And like I turned white, I'm like, oh my God, that's my laptop. I forgot it over there, And I would use this to do all my collections and everything. Had basically all my business information, everything I need, on a daily basis. So this gentleman, his name was Mario Crofts, and I'm saying, oh, thank you so much, and we're going back and forth, and finally, I gave him a few games to play and stuff. He was happy. And then on a weekly basis, I would change the machines, and I have the kids and everything, and it actually helped, like the parents would bring their kids, but they get bored ice fishing and stuff. So, anyways, I get a call. First call I get is from the Ottawa Citizen. Are you going to be here on so and so day? I'm like, sure. So I do an interview with them, and they go, what was your main inspiration for this? I said, I'm one of the generations that grew up without electronics at the beginning and then ended up into having the electronics that we have now. And he's like, okay, well, where are you going with this? I said, well, think of it this way. For me, an arcade when I was 8, 9 years old, that was my social, my my social platform. It was my version of Facebook, or TikTok. That's how I socialized with people. A good friend I met, and actually just rehooked up with him last year. His name was Kit. One day I'm playing an arcade. Sorry, this is going right back. I'll get back to this story. This is just a side story. Anyways, I met him playing Street Fighter, actually, ironically, Street Fighter Alpha 2. And he'd beat me, I'd beat him. He'd beat me, I'd beat him. We kept going back and forth like that. He was pretty cocky, so was I, we were in our teens. Anyways, struck up a good friendship with him and everything. So, I made good friends and everything through arcades. My first job was an arcade. I worked for a company. It was called Wizard's Castle. Well, or it's actually part of the Janus Corp, which ended up being part of Starburst / Player One. It's like this company is still evolving today, and basically, I just kept getting more and more promotions. But anyways, I do the newspaper. And I tell them that, and then they print it. I open the paper, I find the section, I'm like, aha, eureka, I'm here. And then they screwed up my name. I'm like, are you freaking serious? I even spelled it for the guy. My name is A-I-M-E with an accent. It's French. But I go for under Ames. He put Emile. It's like not even the same. And if you look in the description, I'll link the actual thing to the Citizen there. Then I had another company, was The Sun. Then I had CBC, which is a Canadian Broadcasting. And they came by and he goes, do you mind if you do a radio interview? Because this will go on the radio and everything. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. I don't mind. So, great guy. We were talking and everything. We recorded the whole segment. everything went flawless, and he didn't screw up my name. So, anyways, it's great. And, I'm doing great, but not doing great at all. It's like, oh, you're making a lot of business, isn't it? I said, yes and no. And like, during the week, I make nothing. And then on the weekends, it's, kind of bust. And this is near the end, too. Because what do you mean by the end? Well, by March 15th, all these shacks have to be off. And we're about 2 weeks from that. So I explained that to him. He's like, oh, and I said, if I can't make any money, there's no point in me opening it, right? Yeah, you're right. But then all of a sudden started getting busy again. Hey, why not? And then I switched the machines and asked people which games they wanted to play. Like, by switching machines, I mean just replacing the board. It was not very hard to do. And then I get another company that calls me. It's TFO, which is a French broadcasting system on like our version of a PBS in Canada. No, but it's not really a PBS. It's, oh God. Anyways, it's TV Ontario or something like that. And he goes, okay, I'd like to do an interview with you, and we'll make it seem like you leave your shack and then you go to the arcade shack. Anyways, I found out that day when they're recording like a 5-minute segment that's just going to show up on TV or whatever. That 5-minute segment is a whole complete day. It didn't stop. They were directing me, my kids, my best friend. And it's like, oh, you have to start off while you're fishing. And then once you stop and then you turn around. And then you have a smile on your face and you're going to go straight to your arcade. Okay. You don't know what to do. Well, sure, why not? So I go. And we did the whole interview. It went great. And then I'm like, oh, wow, it's going to be a nice half hour or something. He says, okay, it's going to play on this day at this time. Made sure we're watching the TV and everything. Oh, it comes on. Oh, and well, now you know what I told you. But, I'm thinking it's going to be half an hour or something. And then it's 5 minutes. And I'm like, I wasted a whole day for this? So if I can find any of these links, I will put all of it in the description below. And I was in shock, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of work for nothing. Anyways, on the final week, starting to get everything ready. I walk in, I just move a machine, and my back completely revolts on me, goes out, and I'm in permanent pain. I still am in pain from that to this day. Because basically a doctor that did the surgery on me like 3 years after this screwed it all up, and basically I have permanent nerve pain. Anyways, so my best friend, his name is Mike, right? So I explained that at the beginning. He sees me and he comes and gives me a hand. He's like, what the hell's going on? I don't know, my back just went out. And he's in what we call an RPN, is a registered practical nurse. So he's not a nurse, but he's just under it, He's the one who'll do all the work. He's like, lie down, I'll work your back. I'm like, okay. So he starts working my back. And during this time, this is also what we call a derby day. So there's a whole bunch of kids going in and out. Well, that day ended up being very profitable for me. The one day that I made actually a profit. And when you think, oh, well, what's a profit to you? Well, it was $100. For 5 machines, that's a lot, Well, for me, on an ice, on Petrie Island, and you would never think of an arcade on the ice. And then I kept doing research and everything online and whatever. I never knew anybody else who did what I did. Now there's a couple of people who tried it after, but they have it on a trailer and everything. They never did it the way I did. Like, these machines stayed there for literally from November to March. So it was there for a while. And now my back goes completely out. I can't do anything. I can't even move these machines. And this is how much of a good group it is. It's like this association, basically. All you need is a hand. I had 3 or 4 people moving the machines for me, putting them in my truck for me. I was in shock. And they're like, don't worry. You did a lot of work for us and made it. You gave us a lot of publicity, I'm basically making the community grow. And I think that year we were 80 huts. And by the end, I was over 100 huts. Because a lot of people got interested because of these stories, and they would go buy an ice shack, like on one of these repos, and use it, or they would just come by and use the rentals. So I ended up making good promotion out of that. It worked great for me, except for my back. And my back was already injured when I was 17. And basically, it was just a straw that broke the camel's back, But once I was all done and complete, I don't know, it's, when you do something, and when you've done it, and it's finished, and then you have a sense of pride, you're proud of yourself. Well, that was me. I was over the moon. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, this is, like the past story, I'm just talking about my Hulk getting stolen, that's crushing. Well, this is 2 years before that happened. So I'm on top of the world. I'm happy. I'm getting people calling me and stuff. And, well, that'll be a story for another day, because a couple of these places ended up being something I didn't really want to sign up for, as they say. So we're going to end this here. And next time, you'll have another good story that you can see the other side. And basically, I'm the operator, and then who I had to deal with. Trust me, that you want to actually be around. So anyways, I thank you for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed the story. Leave a comment if you want. Tell me what I need to fix, what I don't. And thumbs up or a thumbs down. Doesn't bother me. Just at least do that. And don't forget to subscribe. The more subscriptions there is, the more incentive I'll want to do this. And that'll help me with other operators and everything, because I have to convince them to talk to me, right? And I already have 2 operators that I know that I can talk to. Actually, maybe even 5 of them. So there will be many, many, many more stories. So, like I said, press a thumbs up. Give me your feedback or whatever. I'd like to know, do you want me also to do reviews? I can start a secondary channel. I have already got a couple of them set up. I can start doing reviews on certain pinballs, what I thought, or which arcades were great, or or the stories of them. Every machine had a story. Anyways, I thank you for taking the time. I hope you have yourself a wonderful day, and stay safe. Thanks.